Welcome to the Citizen channel. Today we have a History Boys feature. I'm going to take you back to 1961, and even I was only very tiny. I was born. I was very tiny. Arsenal versus Manchester City on the 14th of January 1961 at the famous Highbury ground, of course. Clashes between Arsenal and City were, in early English football history, the sort of matchups between the best and the north and south of what we had to offer. I mean, two of the powerhouses in football at the time. Obviously, perhaps by the early 60s, it lost a little bit of its gloss. Other teams had come on the scene, etc., etc. But there was still a big, famous history between the two clubs. But this first division match at the time was eagerly awaited. The seven times league champions Arsenal welcomed an old adversary, Manchester City, to Highbury. Away from Highbury, of course, it was Tottenham. Obviously, I said other people had stepped up to the hockey, if you like, at other football teams. It was actually Tottenham that season that sat top of the division, and the top goal scorer so far that season was a gentleman who sadly recently passed away as I'm recording this. A certain Jimmy Greaves. He was top after about the halfway stage, just past the halfway stage, with 25 goals. I was 18 months old, guys, so I didn't know too much about football, to be honest with you, but I would soon move, just before, I think, the age of 2, I would soon be moving from a World War II constructed prefab, we used to call them the prefabs, in Heaton Park, Prestwich there. I would be moving to a 4-bedroom semi-detached. It's still two adults and 5 kids, so we still had to share bedrooms, etc. But I'll be moving to a 4-bedroom semi-detached in Withington. My sister still lives there and owns that property now. Just a 20-minute brisk walk away, of course, from Main Road. Well, so there's only one place I was going to go. I want one guarantee of what team I was going to support, really, when that happened, wasn't there? Away from football, just briefly, licensed bingo halls had just been given the green light. So you go and play bingo at your local, well, mainly old cinema houses were being converted into bingo halls. That was the main thing at the time. And on the television, the Avengers, not nothing to do with this Marvel crew. The original Avengers, Mr. Steed, etc., had just started its long run on ITV, one of everyone's favourite programmes at the time. I think it was a Sunday evening it started on. A fantastic, certainly I was only 18 months then, but it was one of my favourite shows as I was growing up as well. Less than 3 weeks later, in the month of February, a newly named group. I think they obviously just changed the name to the Beatles would perform at the Cavern. They'd only just started as being called the Beatles and would perform for the very first time at the Cavern under their Beatles name. Wonder what happened to them. I'm not too sure. Johnny Tillotson, and Poetry in Motion was a UK #1 single. Great song. And Elvis Presley with GI Blues was top of the album charts. Disney's 101 Dalmatians. We've had a recent version of that with Cruella. Disney's 101 Dalmatians was the hit at the box office, alongside, another one that we've just had another version of, West Side Story, in 1961. Disney's 101 Dalmatians and West Side Story were the biggies at the cinema. And the pound in your pocket, if you had a pound then, it'd be worth £19.11 now. So if you'd stuck £52,400 approximately under your bed in 1961, you'd be a millionaire today. So, hey, just think on what you should have done back in those days if you're a little bit older than me, and wiser, no doubt. Back to football, as stated, Arsenal would not be happy with their arch rivals, Spurs being top of the league. Of course, they themselves sat 7th, but they were 20 points behind. And don't forget, there's only 2 points from winning those days. That was a mammoth task, almost, let's face it, impossible task to close that. And Les McDowell was in charge of City, and we sat 15, so not great. A little bit more, we weren't in the relegation zone as such. 7 from bottom, 22 teams in the league then. But we were only actually 6 points behind Arsenal. Their manager at the time was a guy called George Swindon, Swindon, Swindin. Yeah, the match programme itself cost sixpence, or for you who don't know, 2.5p in if you sort of convert it to today's money. And a great image. I love that. I love that programme. A great image of Highbury. I love black and white images of the old grounds, and it's got a great image of Highbury, of course, on a spot coloured red, black and white cover. Most teams had a spot coloured cover, but everything else was usually black and white. And what I liked about the Arsenal programme, which City weren't doing at that time in 1961 on a regular basis, you got lots of black and white match photos as well of old Arsenal games, which is one of my favourite things, all black and white photos of games. The previous week, Arsenal had been knocked out of the FA Cup. As I said, they'd actually won that 3 times in its existence. They'd had a 2-1 defeat at Sunderland. And as far as City were concerned, also we were 3 times winners. We'd won the FA Cup 3 times by that stage. We'd earned a second replay, after a couple of draws with Cardiff. A 1-1 draw at Ninian Park and then a 0-0 draw at Main Road. And ironically, this second replay would be taking place at Highbury the following Monday, so a couple of days later. So that was the irony of this. I had to go back to Highbury again a couple of days later to take on Cardiff in the second replay, which we did actually win 2-0, although we went out in the next round, so we didn't get very far, guys. City weren't great on the road, particularly. Not a problem we've had many times over the ensuing years, of course. We'd only 2 wins away from Main Road in 12 games that season. Arsenal were okay. I say they weren't really fortresses home games, but Arsenal won 9 out of 13, which is pretty impressive on home form, So they were okay at home. We weren't so good away. So let's see how this panned out. Yeah, the meeting at Main Road earlier in the season, early September, had ended 0-0, a 0-0 draw with a crowd of 36,656. So the crowd at Highbury that day, not quite as large as City's, a crowd of 36,220. We're at Highbury, yes, to witness a 9-goal thriller. Quite interesting. I'm recording this a few days after we've just beaten Leicester 6-3, which was a 9-goal thriller at the Etihad. But this was another 9-goal thriller back in the day, of course. Arsenal lined up with the following players, some familiar names, not so many. Jack Kelsey, I sort of remember him. Terry Neal, definitely. Jimmy McGill, no. Billy McCulloch, no. Joe Havertick, no. Danny Clapton, no. Mel Charles, yes, I remember that. Jackie Henderson, no. David Hurd, yes, I remember that name. George Eastham, I remember that name. Links to Stoke, I think. I'm not sure, I might be miles away with that one, but I think it was an Eastham at Stoke in the late 60s, so it could be the same guy. And Vic Groves. So that was the Arsenal lineup. I mean, City, obviously, for history fans like me, were very familiar with this sort of lineup and the names. Of course, we had the wonderful Bert Troutman in goal, Barry Betts, Bill Livers, Dave Shawcross, Jack Plenderleaf, Ken Barnes, Clyde Colbridge, Joe Hayes, George Hanna, Dennis Law, and of course, Colin Barlow. Sadly, a 9-goal thrill, but we were on the losing end of this, of a 5-4 scoreline, and we were actually three goals down. I'm looking at the City home programme after this. City was actually 3 goals down within 30 minutes. I've been onto various websites, and they do have a bit of a mismatch of how the goals were scored, but obviously I'm going with what was said in the programme. 3 down within 30 minutes, but we managed to pull it back to 3-3, but sadly, the Gunners would actually take the spoils 5-4. The Arsenal scorers, David Hurd, who we just mentioned there, he scored a hat-trick. Henderson and Clapton got their other 2 goals. And for City, Hayes would score a brace, and Barlow and Betts, Betts scored from the penalty spot, would be our other scorers, but sadly a 5-4 defeat on the day. Arsenal, that was keep them. They would stay 7th, but City, would drop to 5th from bottom, so that didn't do us any favours. With Bolton and Newcastle just a point behind, obviously, so it was getting a little bit tight and a little bit apprehensive at the bottom there. Arsenal would not get anywhere near, as expected, their neighbours Spurs, who eventually would win the title, and Arsenal would finish exactly mid-table in 11th spot. To add to Arsenal's woes, Spurs also won the FA Cup, so they achieved a league and cup double, which was pretty rare and unique in those days. Although other teams have done better, but without the people saying it's anything clever. But hey, there you go. go. That's just jealousy, isn't it? City, of course, for our lot, we'd improve. We would finish in 13th. So obviously we didn't do too bad for the rest of the season. We were only 2 places behind Arsenal by the end of it, so that wasn't bad. But this season we'll see the final City performances of Johnny Hart, Ken Barnes, and of course Dennis Law, who went over to Italy. There you go. Anyway, thanks for joining me. This little History Boys feature. Arsenal 5, Manchester City 4, back in Division 1 at Highbury on the 14th of January 1961. Hope you all stay safe and well. Whatever you do the rest of the day, have a great one. Look after yourselves, look after your friends, look after your families. More important, let's all look after each other. Until we meet here again on the Citizen channel, I only ask one thing, guys. I want to ask you to do one thing, please. Stay safe, please. Come on, City. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.